Chantel's triumphant courtroom was barely dark when the sun set. Decide before rumors of an island battle storm started to circulate. Fans are taken aback. Insiders claim that Chantel's legal triumph involved more than just moving. A powder keg of past rivalries with Evelyn, Brandi, and Jackie was ignited by it. Rumors of covert phone conversations, late-night planning meetings, and even a strange parcel that was sent to Chantel's Honolulu hotel room caused tensions to run high. Was it a threat or a peace offering? Meanwhile, conjecture erupted on social media. Chantel leans toward the camera in one clip, her voice quiet and focused. "I'm taking the receipts to heaven since they believed this was over." One more captured Brandi running down a villa hallway with wild eyes and yelling, "You're not pulling any stunts on my watch." What should have been a joyous getaway abruptly devolved into a high-stakes battle under the palm trees. The family was split apart. This is just the beginning of what promises to be the most explosive reality showdown of the year. Friendships hung by a thread, and fans are constantly asking, will Chantel expose Evelyn's lies? Can Brandi forgive the betrayal? And is Jackie secretly plotting her next move? Stay tuned. Chell stepped off the plane into the warm Hawaiian breeze. Her heart was racing as she held onto the handle of her rolling suitcase. The court victory still felt like it belonged to someone else. She had won the right to move and start over with her daughter under the same California sun that she had dreamed about for months. But instead of happiness, she felt a familiar knot in her stomach, knowing that this island paradise would soon turn into a battlefield. As she walked through the airport, whispers followed her. Her nerves twitched with expectation. Inside the villa, champagne glasses waited cold on a marble countertop. Brittany and Denise welcomed Chantel with warm hugs. "Chantel's here. Beware of what she's bringing. Did you hear about the envelope?" Brittany knelt next to her, putting a hand on Chantel's knee. "You did win," she said softly, "but you know how they are." Chantel sank onto the soft sofa, her eyes straying to the ocean view beyond the sliding doors. "I thought this would feel like victory," she whispered, drawing patterns on the glass tabletop. Chantel closed her eyes and thought of the months of legal wrangling, the late-night strategy calls with her lawyer, the painful texts from her mother cautioning her to tread lightly, and how it had all led to this point, a relocation triumphant on paper, but in reality, a powder keg waiting to ignite. Later that night, she found herself on the terrace of the villa, the sky burning pink and orange, and she opened the envelope. "Brandi, Jackie, they won't let this go." Chan's heart raced. Was it enough? She could already picture the fallout. Evelyn's victorious facade was shattered. Inside were lay photos and text messages between Evelyn and an unidentified contact that were branded as evidence that Evelyn had orchestrated a smear campaign against Chantel's character during the custody hearing. "I can't believe she did this," Brandi hissed, calling a retreat, acting like it's all love, then pulling receipts out of thin air. This woman is relentless. Her friend on the other end tried to calm her, but Bry's voice rose with every step she took. Meanwhile, across the villa grounds, Brandi was pacing by the pool, phone pressed to her ear. Their image was tarnished in front of their circle and the cameras that always seemed to find them. Allow her to rewrite history while you relax. With her heels clicking like a warning drum beat, she slammed her phone down and stormed inside. Jackie flipped through a tabloid magazine in the living room, narrowing her eyes at the headline, "Chantel's Revenge. Will she expose her foes in Hawaii?" She tossed the magazine aside and crossed her arms. She muttered, "Revenge. This is just what she wants us to believe." Under Jackie's calm exterior, however, a flicker of anxiety ignited. Camera crews documented every moment of their stay, hungry for any hint of conflict. Jackie looked at the lens, her smile polite but guarded, knowing Chantel's game was layered. Every move calculated for maximum impact. Every revelation timed for peak drama. The next morning, Chantel called a date. No, Chantel called a meeting in the sunny courtyard of the villa, where Brittany and Denise accompanied her as she presented the evidence. Evelyn arrived late, her hair perfectly coiffed, wearing a white sundress that shimmered in the sunlight, and Brandi followed, hiding behind dark sunglasses. There was too much evidence, and it could destroy Jackie's alliances and reveal secrets she had thought were forever hidden. Jackie came last, arms crossed, posture straight, eyes pushed into a tight line. Chantel inhaled, her voice hard but calm. "I know you've heard the rumors, but I have something to share." She handed the pictures across the table, and Brittany and Denise gasped quietly. There was a pause so thick you could taste it. Evelyn's lips thinned. Bry's hand tightened around her glass. Jackie's eyes flickered with interest, and then Evelyn cleared her throat. "So these were sent to you anonymously?" she inquired, her voice, "I haven't confirmed every detail yet, but they're compelling." Chantel nodded. "Silk over steel," Brandi snorted. "Compelling, Chantel. This is exactly the stunt you pulled in court. Show up with last-minute evidence, bombard everyone with drama, then retreat." Chantel's jaw tightened. "The truth always finds its way out, doesn't it?" Jackie leaned forward, her eyes glinting. "But not everyone can handle it," she whispered. "I didn't pull anything," she shot back. "I followed the truth." Chantel's heart was racing. As the group argued, rumors of betrayal reverberated around them. Evelyn accused Jackie of planning the smear behind Chantel's back, and Brandi pointed at her, insisting that she had been the mastermind all along. Jackie defended herself, her voice rising with indignation. The courtyard felt smaller, hotter, and alive with tension she could almost taste on the breeze. Brittany and Denise attempted to mediate, but the firestorm grew. Every charge was rebutted, every hurtful statement ingrained in Chantel's memory. "Fans are shocked," Brittany muttered, looking anxiously at the covert cameras. "The network is probably loving this," Chantel thought. She'd come here expecting a confrontation, but this was beyond her wildest nightmares. The drama had a life of its own, but she required control. She recalled the promise of a new beginning and her daughter's sparkling giggle. Was all of this worthwhile? She took a deep breath and stood, her voice unflinching. Her words, "This ends tonight. We're here for a retreat, but if you continue this, we won't last an hour together." Silence broke out. The sea in that oppressive calm, her remarks appeared to be echoed by waves beyond the walls of the Des Villa. Chantel understood the danger. This was more than a legal case or a move. It was about sisterhood, loyalty, trust, and the very ties they had formed on reality TV. She first glanced at Evelyn, then Brandi, and finally at Jackie's face, which was a picture of pride, wounds, and heightened defenses. Silently watching them dissolve, the island sun shone down on them. Chantel let out a breath, saving herself for the following step. She was both a gladiator and a pawn on the island paradise that had been transformed into an arena. Her eyes were steely with resolve as she straightened her shoulders. She would not back down now, no matter what. It was essential to her own mental health and the future of her daughter. Thus, in the gentle warmth of the Hawaiian afternoon, Chantel readied herself to reveal the next round of this crucial game that would put their friendships to the test, cause the family to become even more divided by tearing open old wounds. The battle was just getting started. As the sun sank below the horizon, the villa became quiet, but the tension within was anything but relieved. After the explosive revelations of the afternoon, Chantel took a moment to herself in her suite. On her balcony, she took a seat at the little wicker table. As she repeated each accusation, the ocean breeze ruffled her hair. Wound pride had flashed in Evelyn's eyes. Bry's mouth had twisted in disdain, and Jackie's composed expression had concealed a whirlwind of computation. Chantel was aware that the next action would make all the difference. A second, smaller, unmarked package with its contents burning a hole through its paper was pulled from her bag. This one had audio of Jackie and Voland speaking softly. Chantel pressed play, the voices crackling through her phone speaker, confessing that they had orchestrated a distraction during the custody hearing to damage Chantel's credibility. "We will put on a small-scale event at the courthouse." Evelyn spoke in a whisper. "She will seem erratic. It will influence the judge." Then Jackie agreed. "It's cool but soft. We only have one chance. He cannot afford to make a mistake." Chantel felt a knot in her gut. This was unquestionably evidence of their slyness. An act of colossal treachery. Proportion. In the meanwhile, Brandi flipped through her phone screen in the common area of the villa, checking social media for any word of Chantel's relocation. Fans are taken aback. On a gossip website, a headline blared. Her eyes narrowed as she scrolled down. "In Hawaii, Chantel is stealing receipts," she murmured. A framed picture of her and Evelyn fell to the floor as she slammed the phone down on the coffee table. Something broke within her. Her chair scraped the floor as she jumped up and rushed into the hallway. She needed allies. Jackie was discovered leaning against the wall with her arms folded and her face inscrutable. "We must speak," Brandi growled. Jackie raised an eyebrow. "Get up. Am I not communicating with you?" Brandi gave a head shake. "Not right now. Please let me know if you're still with us." Jackie's mouth formed a thin grin. "On my side, Brandi, Staying alive in this game is the only master I serve in my career. Bry's mouth tightened. Jackie had once been a reliable friend to her. She wasn't certain that she had any friends anymore. Tell me about Jackie Brandi, please. Lowered the volume of the voice. Will you watch Evelyn ruin Chantel and not intervene? Or will you act morally and assist me in exposing them both? The tape continued to play gently as Chantel steadied herself back on her balcony. Although the island lights below glistened like far-off stars, Chantel thought they were like eyes observing her every action. With an urgent tone, she called Brittany and Denise on a conference call. I possess more, she muttered. And they have 2 expectations for me. Brittany cracked her voice. Brittany implored Chantel to drop it, but she was unable to see her shake her head. This surpasses me in size. Our goal is to shield our daughter from these benefits. Denise let out a sigh. She said, listen when you're here, but keep in mind that revenge might backfire. Chantel gave her temples a massage. Denise was right. She could already smell the media frenzy and the reaction. With every hour that went by, the rumors became more outrageous, tearing the family apart. However, she resisted being portrayed as the bad guy. Determination hardening her spine, she put her phone in her pocket and stood up. With accuracy, she would go on offense. With her heels tapping on the hardwood floor, Chantel went inside. In the dining area of the villa, there is a metronome of oncoming confrontation. A late meal was served at a big table. Each chair was covered with flower arrangements, fresh seafood, and fruit platters. Evelyn was seated at the head, her poise majestic and the epitome of poise. Jackie hung around the buffet, nibbling at a shrimp skewer, while Brandi came up next to her, nodding rigidly. Everyone turned as Chantel walked in holding the envelope. Once more, silence descended with greater weight. Chantel stopped at the tables and spoke in a quiet but powerful voice. She started by saying, I know we all came here to heal, but healing cannot happen without truth. The envelope was put in front of Evelyn. The room echoed with murmurs. Evelyn's expression became stern. Are you ashamed? She spat. Chantel's eyes did not waver. Disgrace? To win a custody battle, you double down on falsehoods. Bry's eyes darted between Evelyn and Chantel as she let out a gasp. Curiosity triumphed over caution as Jackie leaned in. Is this additional proof? Chantel gave a nod. Documentation of your schemes to influence the judge's opinion. Evelyn's hand was shaking. You're crazy, she muttered. These are fakes. Chantel's chuckle lacked substance. Do you think I would risk everything on forgery? I trailed you into the darkness. She gestured at Brandi. Isn't that correct? Bry's body tensed up. Silence betrayed her, and she turned her head away. A dot. Evelyn sprang up abruptly, chair squeaking. Enough, she stamped. You're only attempting to make a point. We can't be broken. Chantel mimicked what she was doing. She said, I don't want to break you. I want to reveal the games you play in private. With a hunger for battle, the network cameras panned in. Jackie moved forward to appease. Everyone breathe, she said in a smooth voice. We are in heaven right now. Don't spoil the moment. Chantel shook her head in exasperation. Heaven? This is where your plans are put on stage. Caught between dread and loyalty, Brandi opened her lips and then shut it. Chantel let out a breath. She walked away from them and unmuted her phone's speaker, saying, all right, if you won't acknowledge the truth, then I'll let the world hear it. The room was filled with the deafening replay of Evelyn and Jackie's conversation. Clear and damning voices. Stunned silence replaced the clinking glasses and laughter of the garden. Evelyn's eyes widened and she covered her mouth. Bry's her face was touched by hands. Jackie's face wavered between surprise and rage. Jackie yelled, "Stop this," and sprang for the phone. Brandi grabbed her arm. "Let it play," Brandi said in a tremulous whisper. Every phrase on the tape struck like a hammer. She seemed insane. We required leverage. No one would suspect anything. Chantel watched them fall apart, adrenaline pumping through her chest. She regretted something. Family disintegrating before, but she felt she had no other option. They would have permanent control over the story if she allowed them to continue spreading lies. A gap of astonished faces was left behind when the recording's echoes diminished. A dot, Chantel said again in the ensuing heavy silence. She said, "I came here for clarity," in a firm voice. "We all have it now." She looked around the table. The days of Evelyn, Brandi, and Jackie lurking in plain sight are ended. Chantel spoke her piece and turned to go, leaving the envelopes visible to the cameras. The others sat still behind her as the consequences of their treachery hit in. The night air was colder outside. and the stars were unconcerned observers of their demise. Despite knowing that the repercussions would be tremendous, Chantel had an odd sense of tranquility. Even if it meant destroying long-standing relationships, she had taken charge of her tale. She walked by the open doors. Brittany gave her a nod of encouragement. The little thumbs up was given by Denise. Chantel smiled briefly, appreciatively. She was going to confront whatever came next. Unfazed by the mayhem she had caused, the battle had intensified beneath the Hawaiian skies. Secrets were torn from the shadows, loyalties were put to the test, and lines were drawn. Chantel's triumph. All of this had been started in court. However, the villa had become a testing ground because of her bravery in facing the lie. Now that the cameras were rolling and the island night was encircling them, the real struggle for their relationships and reputations had only just started. As though only a light wind had stirred the previous night, the sun rose over the villa with a false sense of calm. The tension, however, simmered under the pastel sky, with every breath laden with unsaid accusations. Reminiscent of the altercation from the previous evening, Chantal stepped out onto the patio. Illusions had been shattered by the recording, but now came. The most difficult aspect is dealing with the fallout. With a comforting smile and a new cup of coffee, Brittany joined her in silence. Brittany said, "They'll come around," but her voice was trembling with doubt. With her gaze focused on the horizon, Chantel nodded. "I hope so," she muttered. "However, I'm ready for anything." There were half-eaten fruit platters, overturned cushions, and a single lying on the floor like a wounded embrace scattered throughout the villa's common areas. Hovering close to the breakfast table, Brandi traced the edge of a papaya slice with her fingertips, still raw from shock. Jackie sat at the table and gazed at the cast members gathered there, tapping her fingers against her glass. With her arms folded, Evelyn stood by the sliding doors, gazing at the far-off waters as if they held the answers. No one said anything. Each and every, it seemed as though the cameras hiding behind pillars and palms were choreographing the movement. Chantel came in, calm but determined. "We need to talk," she declared in a steady voice. Evelyn's jaw tightened as she turned. She said, "I have nothing more to say." Chantel extended her hand. "Rehashing last night is not the point of this. It's about choosing our next course of action." With both hands on the chilly wood, she took a step toward the table. "We still have each other, and we have an obligation to finish this for the sake of both the audience and ourselves." There was a long pause. Brandi looked at Jackie and gulped. "She's right," whispered Brandi. "We cannot act as though nothing of this occurred." Jackie let out a breath and nodded slowly. "Fine," she said. "What are you going to do?" Chantel inhaled deeply. "We need to take back our story," she stated. "The narrative should focus on how we respond to hardship, rather than who betrayed whom. From here, we establish the tone," Evelyn gave a snort. "You mean that the tone was set by you?" Evelyn gave Chantel a glare. She clarified, "We as a unit. We can rely on authenticity even if it's a broken device. Real emotion, forgiveness, and conflict resolution are what fans crave." For a brief while, Evelyn's face softened, but then her shield sprang up once again. She charged him, "You're doing this for the cameras. You're doing this for the cameras." Chanel's gaze became strained. "If this were only for the cameras, I wouldn't have brought the recordings. I'd have left well enough alone." There was silence. The concession hung like a bridge between them. "Go outdoors and dot." Denise returned quickly with some news. Production had set up, this evening's unique group activity is a traditional luau feast, complete with dancers, fire, and a shared meal. Perhaps it was a manufactured moment to take advantage of their fishers, or it was intended as a bonding event. The ladies looked at each other. "We'll go," Chantel said, tilting her head in consideration. Evelyn said, "But on our terms?" And she arched an eyebrow. With a faint grin, Chantel said, "And what terms are those?" "Each of us has one regret, one lesson learned, and one goal for the future." Denise and Brittany gave encouraging nods. Jackie appeared interested as well. Seemed interested. The day proceeded in an awkwardly polite manner. Once again, they awoke. Feeling heavier than the previous stand, each adornment seeped onto the sandy shores where the luau was waiting. They were welcomed by the hosts with ukulele songs and Hawaiian chants. The aroma of roasted pineapple, pig, and Kahlua filled the air. Every faked chuckle and sidelong look was captured by the hovering cameras. Chantel stood in the circle, their features shimmering in the light from the burning torches. Brittany sat next to Chantel, Jackie across from Denise, and Evelyn next to Brandi. The seating chart was not an accident. It was a purposeful arrangement meant to compel interaction. The ritual was started by the host. Evelyn invited everyone to speak, and she took the lead. Her voice faltered as she acknowledged that she had underestimated Chantel's determination, and that her own anxieties about losing her position had pushed her to use devious tactics. She said, "I crossed a line, Evelyn, and for that, I'm sorry." Every tear that glinted on her cheeks was captured on video. Brandi came next, apologizing candidly for letting her loyalty blind her, and for questioning Chantel's moral character. "Judgment, I thought I knew what was best for the group," she freely said. "I was wrong." The circle became silent. Bry's hand was gripped by Denise, the subtle support of her nod. Then Jackie's time came. She stood up, took a deep breath, and then talked about the price of ambition. "Our friendships were exchanged for publicity and the hollowness of triumph obtained by deceit." Jackie said, "I lost myself," in a voice that low. Chantel watched them, her chest constricted with a mixture of comfort and incredulity. "And I let fear guide my choices," she said. She arose, blazing like lightning with memories of the courtroom and the villa clashing. Now it was her turn. "To keep my kids safe, I came here." Chantel's voice started to get emotional. "However, I felt compelled to combat everyone who posed a threat to our future. I forgot about the connections we made." She stopped, her eyes sparkling. "I really hope you will pardon me for hurting this group. I did it because despite our mess, I love my family." The moment lingered, brilliant and frail. Then they got up and started walking in Chantel's direction. Evelyn embraced her unrestrained tears. Brandi touched Chantel's shoulder with her forehead. Jackie gave a tentative but genuine embrace. In order to complete their circle of reconciliation, Brittany and Denise joined. The reunion and the act of forgiveness were caught on camera. However, Chantel sensed that the undercurrents had persisted even as they held each other. They had only moved. The tape continued to serve as a subtle warning that the past may reappear at any time. Additionally, new partnerships may emerge behind the surface of unity. She came to see that public healing was both therapeutic and performative, a dot. Following the group moment, they proceeded to the heaped feast dishes surrounded by fire dancers. The air was filled with hesitant but sincere laughter. Comments were flooded with fans watching at home. "This is what I live for, real discussion. Make it Hawaii, but with family drama." The network exulted. These were high-rated moments. Chantel, however, felt both triumphant and worn out amid the cavern of cheers and ukulele chords. She had prevailed in her case, revealed dishonesty, and enabled an epiphany. But at what price? Later, Chantel slipped away to the shoreline as the night grew darker and the torches burned lower. The gentle slapping felt like a bomb of waves. Brittany came to her side, providing a silent presence. Brittany said, "You did what you had to." Chantel put her arms about herself and nodded. She confessed, "I wonder if any of this will last." Brittany gave a quiet smile. "You established the tone, whether it's reality TV or not." Chantel looked at the moon's reflection on the sea, feeling both dejected and optimistic. "They'll remember this moment, how you stood for truth and still opened your heart." She was aware that fresh conflicts would emerge and the cameras might stop recording. At least they had opted for authenticity tonight. A remembrance of the world they briefly restored was born by the air, which brought distant sounds of music and laughing. Chantel, she took a deep breath, her lungs full of salty air. They had fallen and then tentatively risen again on the island. New confrontations, new scenarios, and maybe even bigger discoveries would arrive with dawn. But for now, knowing that she had controlled the chaos and created a story of redemption, Chantel gave herself a rare moment of calm under the watchful stars. The showdown had evolved into a reckoning, and within that change was the real authority in her courtroom. Long after the others had fled inside the villa, Victory Chantel remained on the beach. As though to tease her with its beauty, the moonlight dances on the water's edge. She tried to calm the whirlwind of emotions still roiling inside her as she closed her eyes and listened to the rhythmic crash of waves. Her phone rang with a notice and an incoming direct message from a gossip account with thousands of followers just as she was starting to feel a little more at ease. Chantel's heart skipped a beat as she saw the headline in her notifications. Did Chantel fake that reconciliation? Secret footage just leaked. Her breath caught as she scrolled through grainy clips in the message. Private conversation snippets that have been altered to give the impression that she pre-planned her apologies from last night, as if the tears and the embraces were only a prepared act. Fans are taken aback. As soon as the caption shouted, responses began to pour in. with some people firmly backing Chantel and others trusting the leaks. On social media, emotions were running high, and all of a sudden, the delicate sculpture they had created was once again on the verge of collapse. She looked out at the black lake while putting her phone in her pocket. It dawned on them that the drama was far from ended. It had just changed into another sneaky beast, one that fed more on gut instinct and gossip than hard proof. Chantel straightened and hardened her resolve. She refused to let their facts be altered by edited video. Social media intended to use deceit as a weapon. She would take a big intake of salty air and confront it with unadulterated clarity. Her every foot reverberated like a challenge to the night dot within the villa as she turned and strode back toward it. Denise and Brittany were preparing their belongings for the trip home. The anticipation of their reunion was tempered by the specter of ongoing hostilities. As Chantel walked in, Brittany glanced up. Her face was etched with concern. She glanced at Chantel's phone and said, "What happened?" It was slid across the table by Chantel. As she read it, Denise scowled. "Their goal is to use your own video against you." Brittany bit off a piece of lip. "This is awful. They're misrepresenting what you said." Chantel gave a headshake. "It goes beyond that. It is a deliberate slander. They want to reverse all of our actions from the previous evening." Denise stood with a spark of resolve. "We'll play the actual video for her. Our version will be streamed live. Here, unedited." Chantel's shoulders loosened a little. "Excellent. Let's reveal their falsehoods immediately." As the new scandal put pressure on their previous reconciliation, Evelyn, Brandi, and Jackie gathered in the living room. With her phone in hand, Brandi strode back and forth while reading through remarks that sliced like glass fragments. She argued that we couldn't simply sit here. This has the potential to ruin Chantel once again. Jackie folded her arms and sat on the arm of a chair. "We need to decide whether we're complicit in this," she said, "because we helped her last night. But now we're stuck cleaning up this mess." Evelyn strode behind them, her knuckles white as she grabbed the back of a couch. "Or it could destroy all of us," she continued. Bri halted in mid-step. "She showed us her truth, and we stand with her," she replied softly. "We must now tell her the truth." "All right, then we join the live stream. Face, we speak our minds unfiltered. We face whatever comes." Jackie breathed and looked down at her phone. The three of them exchanged glances of terror mixed with resolution.